Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome to the first edition of many future installments of this video series that I have going out, and it's also going to be a podcast series, so you may hear me call it a podcast at some point throughout the video. But this video series is going to be called Winston Salem Moves, and the whole purpose of it is that I'm going out to gyms and I'm working out with trainers. I'm getting to know everybody, getting integrated into Winston Salem, because guys, there's a lot out there that you just might not know about or you might be interested to learn more about. And it may be scary to step into a new gym with people that seem like they know what they're doing and seem like they've got a handle on all the equipment. And you may be just a little nervous to be stepping in there and trying stuff out by yourself for the first time. So I decided to go out and try it for you. All of these videos, I've had so much fun shooting so far. We've got a couple in the works, so you're seeing the first one, but we're releasing these a little at a time just to make sure that we can do all the work on them that needs to be done to make the videos pretty and nice and easy to view for you guys. So I'm really excited. This first one is with a good friend of mine. His name is Chris Chafin of Chafin Fitness, and he works out of a gym in downtown Winston-Salem called Masters Fitness. He's a personal trainer that works out of that building and runs some space. And Chris is amazing. I've been buddies with Chris since I lived in Greensboro about a year ago, and I was really obsessed with kettlebells and getting to learn more about the kettlebells and knew that they were a really good tool. And Chris, although kettlebells aren't the only thing that he does, is an expert in the area on how to use them and how to integrate them into a full body workout. Nice, easy. If you're somebody like me who feels like they're busy but they want to stay active and it's just kind of like that high intensity but really strengthens your entire body the whole time, then kettlebells may be the answer for you. If you're not looking for that, please don't let me scare you away from him because he is awesome. Just across the board, I love hanging out with Chris. I always learn something new, and we've developed a really strong relationship over the past year, just getting to know each other on a professional and a personal level. And he's a really smart trainer. He's well thought out. Everybody that goes through a program with him, you are getting one of the top tier programs that you can get in Winston-Salem. So I'm going to stop gushing about him, but this is a really exciting interview that he and I do together, and you'll be able to tell as you get into it that he and I are just kind of buddying around the whole time. And I am sure that there are going to be a few of these that he and I do together because we just love talking, and that's going to manifest itself in the video pretty clearly. But we're going to go about an exercise in this video. It's called the Turkish Get-Up. If you don't know what the Turkish Get-Up is, it's a really good exercise that gets your entire body involved, and it's just great. And he's helped me a lot with doing that motion myself, and it's something that I'm even able to integrate into some patients' plan of care that helps just full body core strengthening. Whatever you need, the Turkish Get-Up is usually something that can help you with it. So real quick disclaimer on this, and this is for all the video series. Please do not take this as a workout alongside of us at home series. It is not what it's meant for. I am not telling you that this is something you need to be doing. One of the things that I believe very strongly in is that you need to be evaluated before you do certain moves, and the Turkish Get-Up is certainly one of these. So please do not pick up a weight or a kettlebell at home if you have not been instructed on the Turkish Get-Up or you haven't been taught how to do it properly, because just like anything else, if you're putting weight over your head or you're moving around in certain ways with weight, it can be dangerous. So please treat this with the respect and the caution that it deserves, but also enjoy it and get to know it a little bit better, a little bit more about what we're doing in there. And then if you're interested, you can reach out to Chris at chafinfitness.com, or you can reach out to me at sheltonmp.com. And either one of us are happy to help you depending on what your goals are. And take that for what it is. Please don't go home and just do this by yourself. Alrighty, so I'm going to shut up now and let you guys get to the video, but enjoy this. This is so much fun, and I'll talk to you guys after the video. Please stick around because I do have something for you at the end that I want you to hear. So stick around, watch the video, enjoy it, listen to it over some time because I know it can get a little bit long, but it is a lot of fun. If you're listening to this on audio, just know that you're going to miss out on watching us do the exercises, but it's still chock full of information that you're going to love to learn about, okay? So without further ado, here's me and Chris Chafin at Chafin Fitness. Okay, everybody, so I'm here with Chris Chafin of Chafin Fitness, and Chris and I have known each other for, what would you say, about a year now?
Yeah, about a year.
Yeah, about a year. More closely related now that I've moved into Winston-Salem over the last 5 to 6 months, and we see each other now probably twice a week.
Twice a week,
and it always feels like it's been a full month between each session because we just sit and riff for so long that I thought it'd be good to capture some of what we say on a podcast. So thanks
awesome.
for doing this for me. Thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah, for sure, man. Thanks for having me.
So can you tell, for everybody that doesn't know about you, can you tell them a little bit about yourself, what you do, your training style, all that fun stuff?
Sure, yeah. Like you said, my name's Chris Chafin. I'm a personal trainer. I'm also a certified kettlebell instructor through Strong First. It's really the base or the foundation of what I bring to the table, where we focus on movement first, then loading next. So a lot of my clients, they'll go through a pretty rigorous time where we work on just moving the body well first, and then we take that good movement and add load on top of it. It's kind of a duh kind of thing, but a lot of people skip that step, and you'll immediately start back squatting, loading your back with a lot of weight, and something bad something bad happens there, something goes wrong, and if we would have stopped and actually worked on the foundational movement, we wouldn't have run into that injury maybe so quickly. So a lot of what I do is a lot of patterning, a lot of human movement, and then as we take that movement and it's solid, we then add stuff on top of it or load on top of it and progress the movements. And it works quite well.
And you can already see how Chris is kind of a guy after a physical therapist's own heart here, because everything that he says is very much in line with how we treat patients at Shelton Movement and Performance. And what we love to do is go after patterns and not necessarily strengthening 3 sets of 10 of your bicep to help you do a pull-up. Maybe we'll just have you doing pull-ups, stuff like that. But you're absolutely right that those patterns can often get people in trouble, enough so to where people will end up with back pain, hip pain, whatever. And most of the time it's because of something simple like, hey, you weren't stabilizing through this, and it never has to be a conscious effort, right? But you just, a good example I always use for people is some people can't get their arm up overhead, and then you stick a kettlebell in their other hand and their arm goes straight up overhead, and they're like, whoa, how'd you do that? You never even touched me. And I'm like, yeah, sometimes it's just a stability thing, and you just got to work that out and start loading it. So
yeah, the what the hell effect.
Yeah, the what the hell effect. Props to Pavel. So what Chris and I are going to do today, this is the first installment of our podcast, and what the idea is going to be is that Chris and I are going to do a little workout together in his style of training, and he's already picked out some exercises for us to do, and the idea is that the exercises are going to increase in intensity as we go up. I'm going to try to fire off questions as quickly as possible, and we're going to try to get a little bit of a raw reaction, a raw answer from each of us. Chris is going to ask me a couple questions. We're just going to go back and forth. Like I said, Chris and I have known each other for a little while, especially since I moved to Winston, Salem here. And when he and I get in a room, it's almost like, okay, if you could just hit record on something, we'd probably have a lot of gold sitting around for our patients to hear. So
we're broing out.
Yeah, exactly. It could go on all day. I think we were just like, oh, is it already 6 o'clock? I guess I should go home now.
Yeah.
So I'm expecting some good stuff for you guys. It's going to be a lot of fun. Can you tell us a little bit about what you have us doing today and why we're going to do it?
Today I picked Turkish Get-Ups. It's one of my favorite movements. Mm-hmm. I think Tyler would agree.
Yep.
It's one of those things that you could train a 14-year-old with and get their shoulder stable, get their hips open. It's one of those desert island exercises, I would say, but also it's useful with the older population as well. Hearing stories of grandmas that are actually able to get on the ground and play with their grandchildren and stand back up confidently. That all can be regained through the Turkish Get-Up, and it just looks really cool. So
exactly. So quick question from the physical therapist before we get started. If you've never done a Turkish Get-Up before, obviously YouTube, the holy section of all things Turkish Get-Ups if you need it.
Yeah.
Do you just go ahead? Do you just go try to lift heavy weight as soon as you can?
I mean, you can. Yeah. That would not be my recommendation.
Yeah.
My recommendation would be to find somebody that's qualified to teach you the movement, or Tyler could also show you the movement, or finding somebody that actually knows about movement in a sense that they're actually stopping and making a conscious effort to make the movement first, then adding load on top of that. I think that's really where me and Tyler play in the same sandbox, is that we're worried about you moving well first, and then we're going to get you strong. I think that's why we communicate so well together. Like I said, we play in the same sandbox of those things. And it's always advised that you look at valid information before you try any movement. Going on YouTube, any joker can put a movement on YouTube and say, this is how you do it. But I always like to go straight to the source. Pavel is the one that's brought the Turkish Get-Up to the table here in the modern age. He's the one that brought it to America. So if you want to learn the Turkish Get-Up, either watch us here today or go find a Strong First video of a Strong First instructor telling you how to do the Turkish Get-Up. We're kind of the gold standard, and that's kind of our realm.
Absolutely. Yep. And I'm going to try to hold off because I want to follow up on a couple of things that you just said there, but I want to hold off for when we're doing the Get-Up so I can ask you a little bit more about that stuff.
Cool.
Alrighty, so without further ado, let's go ahead and get rolling.
Awesome. All right, so I'm going to do a barbell variation. Tyler's going to do the kettlebell variation. Both are really effective. I find when I get heavier, I prefer the barbell. That sometimes that bell can get a little heavy on the back of your wrist. That's one of the negatives from the Turkish Get-Up. Yeah. And now a lot of people wear wrist guards and otherwise while they're doing that to try to kind of stop some of that discomfort on the back of the wrist. If that's you, just go. They got plenty of kettlebell guards out there. You can get one, throw that on there, and you'll kind of relieve some of that discomfort on the back of your wrist. But I find when it gets heavy, I really prefer the barbell. So you're going to see two different ways to do this.
Yeah.
You're going to see it with the kettlebell, and you're going to see me doing it with the barbell, and it changes a little bit the way the weight is displaced on your body. With the barbell, obviously there's going to be a lot longer that the weight's going to be displaced on your body, and with the kettlebell, it's going to be directly in one mass that sits on the back of your arm. So it's almost like you got a really big arm almost when you're doing it with the kettlebell, right? Or just got like a giant Hulk fist, almost, or something like that. Whereas with the barbell, it does challenge. I feel like it challenges your core just a little bit more because the weight is spread out a little bit more.
Yeah.
And
I do have a point to make off of that, but I really want to save it for the question that I asked you. So we'll go ahead and just get. Okay, so you mentioned being a Strong First certified trainer, and one of the things that I think it's probably not something that a lot of people know about. I know that's how I found you. I got really into reading Pavel's books, Naked Warrior, Enter the Kettlebell, things like that, and started trying to do kettlebell exercises on my own because just as a physical therapist, it really spoke to me the way that he trains how to move the body and all that fun stuff that he does in there. So after a while, started feeling the aches and pains. I know I bruised up my wrists pretty badly, and I was like, you know what? I need to be smart about this. I'm going to hurt myself. Nobody wants to see a hypocrite in their physical therapist. So that's when I reached out to you and met you. Can you tell me a little bit more about the Strong First philosophy? I know you don't just do Strong First. So for everybody watching or listening, that's not all it is. But it's a very, I would imagine, very key part of how you train, and it's kind of ingrained in a little bit of everything. So can you explain to everybody a little bit more about what that is and why it's so important to be able to move the body well first?
Yeah. So like you said, I don't just do Strong First. I don't just do kettlebells, but it is kind of the foundation of what I do. Like I think about the key principles of Strong First when I'm training people. And what that's really built upon and what I've really been pressed to do is make sure that the client moves well first. The kettlebell swing is probably the most famous exercise from the kettlebell world, and probably everybody has tried it at some point and maybe found that it hurt their back, or they were doing it wrong, or it just didn't feel great. And that's because they weren't taught to properly hinge first, which is the main part of that movement.
Because I can walk into a gym now and it drives me nuts. And I'm by no means perfect, because you and I actually work on my swing a lot and everything, but some of the things that I see out there really makes me cringe.
Yeah.
And even somebody that we both know, I won't name names, but said to me, I do kettlebell swings all the time. I really like them. The only thing I don't like about it is that it hurts my back when I'm done with it. It shouldn't be like that.
No.
So yeah, keep going. Tell us more about why it's so important.
And that's just because the idea is longevity. The idea is consistency. So anybody can be a gym hero for a month, 2 weeks, whatever. I could walk in and crush workout after workout for a week, but I'm probably going to be hobbling out, and you probably won't see me for the next several months as I'm licking my wounds. For me, it's more about consistency, and it's more about repeatability. So can I repeat this workout over and over and over again over the long run so that I'm healthy and happy over the long run, not just how jacked can I get in the next 6 months, which if you're 20 years old, that might be a good goal for you. But when you're 30, 40 years old, not necessarily the thing you want to do. Most people, the amount of stress that puts on your body as we start to age, doesn't really add up. You know, you're sitting at your desk, your back hurts. You got some high fives and stuff in the gym, but it's kind of, you can tell it's pushing that towards a negative side. It's not necessarily a healthy habit at that point because we're degrading our body at a rate that's just not sustainable.
Yeah. Well, and people will go, you know, often to trainers and they'll be like, oh yeah, trains all these athletes, does this, that, and the other with really high level people, and the workouts are really intense. I love it. I'm starting to feel it a little bit, but hey, I'm getting up there in age. I'm 45. You know, I should be expecting a little bit of pain, and that's where you and I connect so much on this stuff. It's like, you know, if you just set that foundation, you will never need me. You really won't. You'll never need to be in here with me because you're not going to be out there doing things with your body that shouldn't be done. That's not to say that there are, you know, weights that you shouldn't be able to pick up. There aren't moves. If you want to go do Olympic lifting or CrossFit or anything really, that's fine, but you have to have a foundation first. And that's something, you know, that I see in my world is people will go and they'll be talking about, oh, well, I went to this orthopedic surgeon. They used to work with these athletic teams. And, you know, both from your side of things where people are going and working with athletic trainers or whoever, people that are trained athletes, not athletic trainers, or my side of things where, you know, they're more sports orthopedics, my question to people are always, okay, but what is your goal? Because you just came in here and told me that you really want to get back in shape, and it keeps falling off. You keep getting hurt and then coming back and then, you know, you have to rest and take pills for 6 weeks and then you try again, same exact thing over and over again. You're gaining all this weight. You start to worry about diabetes, things like that. You know, okay, is your goal to step foot on the football field? Because if so, great. Keep going to the guy that trains a lot of athletes, or keep going to the guy that fixes athletes. Their agendas, and this isn't, you know, a blanket statement for everybody that treats athletes. A lot of them, yourself included, knows how to train people depending on their goals, but you're not often asked that question by anybody. And, you know, I implore these people that are like, oh, you know what, yeah, I saw my orthopedic surgeon. He used to work with some NFL team, I don't remember, and he said that if this doesn't get better in about 3 weeks, we can come in and do a simple surgery. I do it for my athletes all the time. And I'm like, yes, but your job is to get that athlete who makes millions and millions of dollars playing high speed, high intensity contact football or whatever else back on the field as quickly as possible. That's your goal. That's his goal. Okay, but, you know, name a football player that's not living in absolute agony into their 40s, their 50s. They're, you know, a lot of them are, unless I guess they're on the TB12 plan, and then apparently that works fine. But you know, it's. I'm not saying that orthopedic surgeons can't fix your pain, but their goals are often, you know, that credential shouldn't speak to what you're going after. You just told me that you want to get back in shape, you want to feel better, you want to do this, that, and the other. Then stop going in and pounding your body. Stop going in and doing things that aren't necessarily going to conservatively fix you or give you a good long-term solution. It's just a quick get you out of pain now. Yeah. And it's really important for people to understand that there are conservative ways to get yourself back to it. You and I have both seen plenty of people of different capacities that if you just take the time to set that foundation, cool off on the stuff that's causing the pain, I call it picking the scab, it gets a lot better a lot more quickly, and there's usually a way that you can do that without needing surgery or the pills or injections or anything like that.
Yeah, and you touched on some really good things that I talk about with people a lot, and that's really, what are we training for? Yeah. You know, I train athletes, majority of my clients are just general public, GPP, you know, general physical preparedness. And there's just risks that some people take while they're training that are not, they just don't line up with GPP clients. Yeah. Like, you know, if I'm training an athlete, I will draw that line and make it very clear that there are risks that we're now going to take, and that's because we have a competition to get ready for. We have a sport that we're getting ready to get ready for. Yeah. And so you're going to be willing to put a little bit more down on the line. But when I got somebody that's a 40-year-old female that sits at a desk all day, that is just a no-brainer for me. We're not going to do any sort of activity that's going to draw or even get close to that line, because it's not worth what could happen to her potentially. I have a million ways to get her fit, get her strong, without doing Olympic lifts, without doing heavy back squats, without doing these larger movements that really are biggest bang for your buck movements, but some people have no business doing them, and you know, and they fall in line with either a methodology or sign up for a class, and they just kind of fall in line. Well, this is what I have to do to get fit. This is everybody else looks fit. I'm just going to do this, and then it's just too much for the general public person there. Yeah. So I think what I always do with my clients is make them aware of the risks. So, you know, if I'm training a power lifter and we see a little bit of butt wink at the bottom of the squat, I'm going to try to help them fix that. But to an extent, they have to be willing to want to work on it themselves. And if they're not willing to want to work on that, then that's the ball's in their court on that. You know, like they're taking that risk, they're allowing their spine to flex at the bottom, and they're willing to take that risk. But for me, I need to kind of wipe my hands clean and say, hey, look, this is the risk. If this is what you want to do, then we're going to step forward into this.
Exactly.
But here's what I suggest we do. I suggest we stop, we work on pelvic control, and let's stop that butt wink at the bottom of your squat. Some people are like, I'm cool with taking the risk. And that's kind of on them. But for me to clear my conscience, I need to let them know that what the risks are. You know.
Well, name a sport, you know, a professional sport or a sport that Americans play more generally that people play into their 80s. You know, golf maybe. They don't exist. And I know most people retire around 65ish. That's not my point. You know, everybody retires from a sport at a relatively young age. None of them are meant for your longevity. They're good for you, but that general level of activity, being cardiovascularly tuned, everything is good for you from that standpoint. But over time, the constant pounding, you know, basketball players with their knees, football players with their everything, you know, hockey players with their everything and no teeth. It just there's not a lot of sports out there that are meant to promote longevity. So your point is very well spoken, and I just want to make sure everybody knows that if you want to train like an athlete, by all means train like an athlete.
Do it.
Just set the foundation first, because going in there and trying to do the Olympic lifting, going in there and trying to do the power lifting, you know, whatever, going in there and trying to do the circuit training, if you don't have that foundation, you're going to find how quickly that body breaks down.
Absolutely.
And it'll happen in 2 seconds. Okay, so I think it's time for us to go on to the next exercise. All right, round two, I'm up to a heavier bell, and Chris, as you can see, has put some weight on the bar.
Yeah, so this is a 30-pound bar, 2 10s on each side, 50 pounds. Cool.
One of the things that I want to point out really quickly is Chris and I both are pretty experienced with the Get-Up, but we are always striving for perfection. There's I'm forgetting the guy's name, but one of the master kettlebell instructors says there's no such thing as a perfect swing. You're always looking for that perfect rep on the next one.
That's something that I wanted to touch on in the previous thing when you asked. The one thing I get to touch on is being a student of strength. That's one of the things that Strong First really preaches, and that I really take to heart, is constantly learning, constantly trying to get better, constantly trying to get stronger, more mobile. You just got to keep moving. Like, you got to keep learning, and just never get that ego of like, I've got it, this is the system, what I do with my clients is flawless. That's BS.
Now I'm going to do 50 of them.
You know, so it's always being open, being a student of strength, and that's one of the things that really attracted me to Strong First, and it still attracts me to that. It's just the ego is not there. You're constantly pursuing greater, better, you know, and you can always be better, and I think that's great. And then you take that mentality on, and then you bring that onto your clients as well, and you keep pushing them to get just a little bit better every time they walk in the gym, you know.
Absolutely.
So my question for you, from your perspective, what is strong enough?
Ooh, I like that. So as a disclaimer too, Chris and I did not talk about these questions before. I know I just said that we see each other a lot, but I guess he knows how to. I guess he knows how to get. It depends. One of the things that I work really hard on is knowing everything about my clients, knowing everything about my patients, and it's not so I can manipulate them. So don't at me. But it's you know, it's more of, I want to know what they want, even if they don't know what they want, because sometimes people will walk in the room and they're just like, oh no, it hurts. But everybody's in pain, right? Like, if you're coming to see me, there's probably a decent chance that you're in pain. Maybe 1% of the people are just like, no, I know I move like crap, and I kind of needed to see somebody that helps me move better because I've got this, that, and the other going on. I've got tightness, something like that. But for the most part, you're in pain. And you know, as much as I can appreciate that, and nobody's pain is simple, it has to be deeper than that. There's no way that you're coming in to see me. All of us have such instant access to our lives nowadays, where you can sit at home and watch a billion TV shows. You can sit at home and get on Google and see what Dr. Google says about your issue, which everybody does. You can read all this stuff, watch YouTube videos on 10 best low back exercises. You know, so for you to pick up the phone, call me, and come see me, I know you're taking a little bit out of your time, a little bit out of your day that you value a lot to come see me. There has to be a deeper reason. Can you not get on the floor with your kids and play with them? Can you not run without pain? For some people, it's, I'm struggling at the gym and I don't feel like I'm able to get any stronger because I've got this pain that's holding me back, and a conscientious trainer is keeping me kind of in this bubble where they're like, all right, no more until you get this taken care of. We're still going to maintain, do stuff that's safe, do stuff that hurts but doesn't necessarily get you any stronger. You have to go do something about this. So to circle back to your question, it depends on what that deeper meaning is. So if it is, you're worried about not being able to get up from the floor, you're a little bit older, we all know how scary falls can be for the elderly population, then strong enough for you is to be able to confidently get up off the floor without anything around you. Or with something around you. If you can crawl over to something and get yourself up, that's strong enough for me. I don't need you, deadlifting 500 to prove to me that you can do that. For somebody else, it's okay, well, maybe it's not a strength thing, because a lot of people have a motor control issue where certain muscles aren't disengaging or engaging when they should. And that's why you can't run without pain, because your hip is just trying to do everything. In boxing, we have a term called your arm in your punches, where you're just basically just standing there and throwing your hands out like this, as opposed to using your body and twisting with it. And a lot of people would do that with running, walking, just standing in general, is all their hip muscles, all their leg muscles are doing all the work, because they don't have the stability, the core stability, whatever you want to call it, to be able to do that efficiently the way the body wants to. So the body's going to avoid a bunch of stuff that's causing you pain. So, really, and I know why you're asking this, is because there is no such thing as strong enough. It's just what matters to you.
Correct.
Right? It's just, if all you're telling me is I want to be able to pick up my kids and put them in bed without them feeling pain, then that's strong enough for you. Me getting you there, I can absolutely do that, and that's going to be strong enough for you. I don't necessarily, again, need you pulling a truck behind you. It's if you look inside my clinic, I know a lot of physical therapy clinics, it's just, kind of a big gym with a bunch of machines, bunch of weights, everything around there. But in my clinic, you'll see basically three things. A tower with a pull-up bar that we use 0% of the time, but I tie stuff off to it. You'll see kettlebells, you'll see bands, just light bands, not the heavy lifter bands, and you'll see a table.
Yeah.
I said three things, I think I meant four. But that's really it. If I can teach your body to move and then get you a little bit better moving under load, then they're ready to come see you then. If they're doing that without pain, I'm like, okay, great. Do you do exercise? Do you do anything physical at all? If the answer is no, go see my buddy Chris. Or if the answer is yes, but I'm a little bit worried about going back to where I was because that's what got me hurt, go see my buddy Chris. It's that kind of thing. Yeah. So, good question. Though.
Yeah. You answered pretty much what I was going to say too. And like we touched on before, that moves for clients, right? Mm-hmm. So, I have a 16-year-old basketball player that's playing high school basketball. Mm-hmm. Strong enough for him. That's going to be that's going to be pretty far up here. The more strength I can put. Now, there's going to be diminishing returns where he's too bulky and he can't play a sport anymore. Yeah. But right now, he's 16 years old. He's full of testosterone. He can eat the entire house down, never gain a pound. Yeah. So for him to keep putting load on him is what I've been doing and what I'm going to continue to do to get him stronger for his sport, because he's right in that pocket of when you should be gaining strength as a male. In the 16 to 25, 26, you're just ready to go, and your body can take a whole lot. I'm not saying that I'm
ready to look good with your shirt off.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm not saying that I'm trying to crush him to an extent, but it's going to be his workout's going to look a lot different for him than it is my 55-year-old male client that sits at a desk all day.
As it should. Yeah. And that's what's hard about some of these circuit classes. There's nothing wrong with them. They certainly get the job done of a cardiovascular experience, getting you to sweat it out. But a lot of people are cycling in and out of those gyms because they get hurt too quickly, because not all of them are that 26-year-old kid that's just ready to go. And if he does get hurt, he can kind of bounce back pretty quickly. Your body's going to recover a little bit more slowly the older you get, but that does not make age a limiting factor. And I know I wrote about that in my book. Plug. I wrote about that in my book, where I just, people calling you old, and I've heard so many times, like, you're 45, you probably shouldn't lift any more than 20 pounds again. I'm like, that seems ridiculous, but that gets said to people all the time.
Which that just makes me angry to an extent, because at the same time, there's also a lot of benefit for a 55-year-old male putting on some serious strength. Like you said, we're not going to go after a 2 times body weight deadlift. Maybe if they were up for it. Yeah. Or even, I think
just
somewhere
eventually.
like a body weight deadlift or something like 1.5 times body weight deadlift at that age is plenty enough strength. I mean, that's going to be more strength than you're ever going to need.
Absolutely.
And what that's going to do for you, and I have this happen all the time, is I get a client strong in the deadlift or the squat or something, and then they come back to me and they tell me about all this glorious stuff they can do now.
Yeah.
Man, I worked out in the yard for 5 hours. I was hauling mulch. I was pushing wheelbarrows. I was dragging, tillers and stuff, and they feel great. The next day, their body's not broken. They feel like they're up and at 'em the next day.
Yeah.
And that's really what getting stronger can do for you.
Absolutely.
But there's always going to be a point of diminishing returns.
Yeah.
So like for me to push the 55-year-old male client that sits at a desk all day to go after a 3 times body weight deadlift, if that's not his goal. Now, if he came to me and was like, hey man, I'm a power lifter, I want to get jacked, let's go, that's your goal.
Yeah.
But if he's come to me for general fitness, I'm not going to push him towards that goal because I know that is a point of diminishing return for him. His joints are going to ache. His back might start getting a little cranky. All these things that as we start to push more and more and more, the body starts to complain just a little bit. And
you always have to check and make sure he's moving well, and that's something that you do so well, and that's why you're able to get those results out of people.
Yeah. And just like you said, continually checking in, and you can ask any one of my clients, one of the first things I ask you when you hit the door is, how you feel today? And I'm not necessarily asking you from an emotional standpoint, although albeit I am a bit of an amateur therapist as well. I sometimes joke I'm a therapist with weights, but that's the whole other side. But I'm asking how your body feels on that day.
Yeah.
And it's not about like how much sleep you got, not how much you ate last night. All these things don't matter. It matters how you feel right then and there. What effort do you have to give right now?
Yeah.
And you want to, like I always tell people, if I see it in the client, if I see they have a ton of energy, if the weights are moving fast, well then I'm going to take it on that day. I'm going to push you a little bit harder on that day because you're ready for that.
Yeah.
But if you come into the gym and had a rough weekend, you're sniffling, you're sick, you know what we're going to do? We're probably going to do a bunch of mobility.
Yeah.
We're going to move our bodies, and I'm going to try to challenge you. And if your body starts to push back or your energy level pushes back, I'm going to shift down, and I'm going to give you a workout that you need on that day.
Yeah. And you know that there are just plenty of gyms, and even PT gyms for this matter, where you walk in and you don't see somebody who's your skilled provider for the first 20 or 30 minutes to where you go, hey, I feel like crap. You get immediately thrown into the rotation of, all right, you got your exercise sheet ready? Here's the stuff that you've been doing at home. Go ahead and start doing it here. And it's like, hey, probably talk to that guy first since they're seeing you for pain. And that's something that I know you and I both pride ourselves on a lot, as you said, is saying, hey, how are you feeling today?
Yeah.
That's one of the first questions that comes out of my mouth, after I chat your head off about your weekend or something like that.
Yeah, obviously you got to build rapport,
Well, but I finally shut up enough to actually treat you for why you came in here as opposed to just be your friend the whole time. Okay, so we'll scoot over to our last question, the heaviest weights, and we'll go from there.
Okay, cool.
All right, we're gonna head on to the last set here, and then the last question from me to Chris.
So I got 70 on the bar now. He's got a 24 kilogram, which equals 53 pounds.
Okay, and I'm going to start talking while he's recovering a little bit. So one of the things that I know drew me to you was the fact that you screen everybody when they come in here. The first thing you do is take them through a movement screen. There you go. You're starting to feel the sweat. Yeah, we got to question 3 and have never mentioned it. So you do a movement screen on people. Tell me a little bit about that. Tell me why I love it so much. Tell me why you love it so much and why it is the number one thing in probably both of our minds that is non-negotiable. You have to do it before you start training anybody.
Yeah. He's talking about the FMS. Which is a great thing, especially for me as a personal trainer.
What's that stand for?
Functional movement screen is
there you go.
is the official Great Cook.
Shouts out to Great Cook.
Awesome. He's another one that's really set foundation to what I do. It's really Strong First, and the book Movement by Great Cook, as well as the FMS, that really puts some good foundation in the way that I approach training, the way I approach people. And what he's getting at is I take you through movements before you ever touch loads. So the things we've been talking about, I watch you squat, I watch you lunge, I watch you do a single leg movement, I check your shoulder mobility, I check your hamstring flexibility, and all these things give me a roadmap as to if you have any dysfunctions, if you have anything that I can pick up and clean up for you. Now, if there's pain, you got to go see Tyler, but if there's no pain and it's just tight and I can get it to move better, I'm going to do that first before I ask you to hold a weight and press it over your head. So if your shoulders doesn't move, and then I'm like, hey, just grab this 25-pound dumbbell, I'll just watch you do this. And rep 2, you're like, oh God, I hurt my shoulder. if I would have stopped and screened that movement first, perhaps I could have stopped that in its tracks. You know, and never gotten you there. So what Tyler's saying is that he really likes it because it's a little bit crossing lines, right? Like a little bit, like it's a little, we're wandering a little bit in the physical therapy world, but without addressing the pain. And that's where the hard line is from me to you. That's where the line in the sand is.
And they make that very clear in the screen. It's, you know, if somebody's in pain, you do like the screen that I do. But if you're not in pain, you're just trying to get stronger, you do the screen that you do.
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, and that's sort of the thing where we check you out. So like, let's say we get you to squat for the first time and your knee is just shooting through the roof with pain. Well then, I know that you probably need to, as long as it's not a movement dysfunction that I could fix for you, you probably need to go see Tyler. You need to see what's going on there before we get under the bar, before we start to load in a goblet squat, before we start to do these things. That way, like I said before, it's repeatable. You can have consistency in the gym, and that's what it's all about, is showing up and making it a habit. And if you're constantly injured, it's not a habit. You're in the habit of doing rehab is what you're in the habit of doing. You know, so it keeps you, it's a roadmap is what I'm getting at. It's a roadmap for me from the beginning.
And so just to throw you a little bit of a softball example, you and I both know somebody that her hamstring is constantly bothering her, couldn't really figure it out, went to a gym, would get hurt, take the month off, go to a gym, get hurt in another area, take that time off. First day you saw her, what'd you tell me about that?
Her knee was collapsing every time she was in single leg movement. Anytime she went to do a squat, we were seeing knee valgus where the knee dives in, and just saw the whole entire hip coming internally the entire time, and she was doing that with repetition, albeit it wasn't under load, but that doesn't really matter once you're doing 100 of them. You know, like
it's breaking the credit card, right? You bend a credit card at first, it doesn't really go, and then eventually just pop, and that's when you start to feel the pain.
Exactly. So for me with that client, I immediately just knew that I needed to do some really easy box squats. Let's start on a box, give the person just a nice easy goal. You know, they're kind of comfortable there, they're not really getting pushed outside of their comfort zone, and then they can focus on controlling that knee. And that's really what it's all about, is that self-awareness, or the awareness while I'm moving, what's going on in my joints, and these big joints. You know, we really talk about the knees, the shoulders, the hips, those are the big landmarks.
And then that person doesn't need to come see me because they don't get hurt, right?
You know, and that's very true.
Yeah.
You know, and I think it's just a testament to how if you actually just stop and build a little bit of movement awareness while you're doing these things, how that can really help you in the long run for longevity. You know, and that's really just...
And that's something that I preach constantly. That's why, again, you know, I know I respect your training game so much, is because I know I'm good at making people feel better. If there's somebody out there that is in pain, they can't seem to get out of pain, by all means, please come see me. I'm really good at that. But what I care more about is trying to help you prevent. But I don't even need to do that through you. You know, I go out and I speak to a lot of gyms, go to a lot of trainers, and that's all fine and well. I love helping out. I know not everybody is going to have the time that you have to go over the FMS and everything like that. But at the same time, it's so valuable to where you don't have patients or clients cycling in and out because they're in pain. You have a complete control over what's going on with them. If they're in pain, you know what to do, whether it's send them to me or whether it's, it's something simple and I know these things will get it gone. That's what the screen is there for.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, it's one of the biggest tools in my toolkit. I mean, it's the first thing, you know, I always offer a plug here. I always offer a free starter session, free mobility screen. So you can come in totally free. I'll screen your mobility. You could say, thank you, have a nice life, and never see me again. But I think we would both win in that instance. I get a rep giving a movement screen, and you get to figure out what's tight and restricting you on your body. You know,
and that's you know, it's so invaluable to know that information. And I know that when you and I met, I went through that with you, and I said, you know, I've been through this before, but I don't know how my body's going to show up for this, because I always do the one that's pain. I don't do the one for training, so I'm going to be interested here. And I thought a lot of things were going to go wrong, and you pointed them out to me. You're like, actually, you're pretty good at this, but you're really terrible at this. So it's just such a great system. All right, I don't want to take up any more of your time. I know you got to go. Chris and I will most definitely be doing this again, because if you think we just talked for a long time, you have no idea. We have a lot more to say, but Chris is a busy guy. We're going to let him get back to his clients. Thank you so much for letting us do this and taking the time to do this. All right, guys, we'll talk to you soon at the next installment. Take care. So as promised, I do have something for you guys if you're still with me. It's one of the tips reports that I've put together for people that are looking to stay in the gym without getting injured. And it doesn't necessarily have to be something where you're worried about getting injured. It could just be something where you're trying to be preventative and make sure that you don't get hurt. It's also helpful for people who are starting to feel a little something coming on. They don't want it to develop into anything, all the way up to people who are experiencing something that's keeping them out of the gym. This book is really for everybody. And when I say book, it's a tips report. It's like 20 pages, I think, max, of just information that I'm trying to give out to everybody to help you guys stay healthy, stay fit, stay independent, because that's what we care about at Shelton Movement and Performance. I want to keep you that way without you needing those scary medications, the painful injections, and sometimes unnecessary surgery, okay? So if you go to, the website is going to be sheltonmp.com, and you're going to scroll down and you're going to see a row of books, and it's going to be the Stay Fit book. The other way to get there is sheltonmp.com/stay-fit. And that should be appearing under me or over me right about now, depending on how I cut up this video. And I'll leave it here for a couple seconds, and I'll also put it in the show notes so you can see it later. If you're interested in checking that out, you go to that link, fill out a quick little form that just allows me to email it to you right away so that you can get the ebook. You'll have it on your phone, your laptop, whatever you're using right away. And you'll be able to start getting that information. And it's something that I want you to be able to apply today. And if it's not something that you can apply today, it's something where I try to guide you into your next steps, okay? Now, please don't get me wrong. If you are going through an injury right now, or you're going through something that it seems a little bit more severe and is keeping you out of the gym, please do not pick this book up thinking that it's going to make you better. It has helped people in the past, but that's not always the intention. If you're going through something that you think is a little bit more serious, our number is 336-933-1544, and I'm happy to just talk to you. I don't take this as something where I'm just going to hard sell you on physical therapy. If I think you need physical therapy, absolutely, I'm going to tell you that you need physical therapy, but that's not what this is for. If you need a phone call with somebody to make sure that something is going on, please give us a call, because I want to help you make that next decision. Whatever decision it is, I want to help you make the best decision possible about your health care. So again, that number is 336-933-1544. I'd love to chat with you and help you out. Otherwise, the book, the tips report, is great. I hope you enjoy it. Thank you again for hanging out with me and Chris. Again, this is not going to be the last time you hear from us, so stay tuned. The next one that I have coming up is a really fun one. I've already got the video ready to go. We're just waiting a little bit of time to release it, so stick around, and it's going to be a really fun one too.